Was this what you sent to me by email this morning?
Yeah, I'll just forward it to Lawrence right now.
Did you guys drive down from Charlotte?
We're on.
We did, yeah. Chaz, I did too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and call this May 14th ad hoc Reconstitution Committee and Executive Committee meeting to order. We will start with, that was item A. We're moving on to item B, approval of the minutes, ad hoc Reconstitution Committee and Executive Committee meeting of April 9th.
Move to approve as written.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Moving on to item C, committee discussion and action items. Received quarterly progress report number 3 is submitted to the South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority, OJRSA Board, and Oconee County Exhibit A. Chris Elias.
All right, attached to your agenda packet today is the report that was submitted by Lynn and myself to the RA. I won't go over it. I just attached it, wanted to include it for the record. A copy of this was distributed to the county, the commissioners, and I believe it was included in the board meeting minutes last week.
And all the city councils, everybody that signed up to receive them.
Yes.
All right. Are there any questions or any discussion about that? Chris, do you want any kind of motion? We're just receiving that.
Just receiving it for information.
All right. So we'll move on to any questions. Mr. Hart, you good? Any questions? Done. We'll move on to item 2, update South Carolina Senate Bill 829, Joint System Governance. Lawrence Flynn. Lawrence, you up yet? That's what I thought.
Hopping at it, guys. Don't you worry.
All right. Are you just serving one client at a time? You're not doing that thing where you got another client on another Zoom call.
That is hot enough.
Oh, okay. Well,
He didn't answer the question. He just said it was all
he didn't say no. All right, Lawrence, you're on.
I am the picture of ethics.
All right. Lawrence, you're on deck to give us an update.
Yes, so the legislation was given third and final reading yesterday. So today being the last day of legislative session, we have been sitting in conference committee in the House Ways and Means, and then the kind of logjam broke loose late last week. We were given a reading out of Judiciary. We received a second reading on Tuesday and a third reading yesterday, and it's now sitting on the governor's desk for approval. So, Lord willing, and the creek doesn't rise, we should have a piece of legislation finalized and complete. I don't see I don't have any expectation there would be any reason to veto or to not actually ratify the action. But if that doesn't happen, it becomes good law in 5 days. So we should probably know something by the middle of next week to be sure. But otherwise, the legislation looks to be in a great spot, and everyone should tell Senator Alexander, thank him for his yeoman's effort to get this across the finish line.
Sounds good. Is there, or does anyone have any questions for Lawrence?
Yeah, can you give us an update on the budget process, where they are right now, Lawrence?
No comment.
All right. Well, Lawrence, thank you very much for your work on that. I was making a joke a minute ago. You would take credit for a lot of work you didn't do. Some of that is true, but most of it we know you did do a lot of work on it. You did a good job drafting that legislation.
Look, I could anyone could put words on paper. It's, working through that process is anyone's guess, and so it's really not nice to have folks that can make the legislature, and that is solely attributable to Senator Alexander.
Yes. Well, thank you for your work on it too. Look forward to hopefully getting that governor's signature, getting it going. All right. Any additional questions for Lawrence? Celia, welcome.
Thank you. Apologies, my 8 o'clock long.
No, that's all right. Welcome. We'll move on to item number 3, communication with elected officials and leadership, feedback, and future memo requests. Angie Metlin is not here today, so Mr. Joel Jones is going.
So you got me instead. Yeah. So let's start with communication with elected officials. We're kind of sitting where we were last month. We met with everybody. Still have not gotten with the county specifically yet. We're still working with that, see if we can find a good way for us to have those conversations. But I think we know everything we need to know to keep the process moving, at least through what these guys are going to be doing. So we'll continue to work at that, and we'll probably be looking at another round of getting together with folks here in the next couple of months when we start getting some information back from the studies as well. So this has been an ongoing process, been very beneficial. We've learned a lot, just understanding where people are and where we think we might can go with this thing. So it's been good. The other thing is memo request. I think since the last meeting in April, we've sent out 2. I think we sent out memo number 3 directly on the heels of the last meeting. That was pertaining to growth. And so I'll open that up. Was there any, I don't know that we got a lot of comments back on that.
I know mine are receiving them, but I'm not getting any comment back from my side.
But, and we understand at some point, people may not respond immediately, but when these things come up again, there may be something that triggers a response. It's out there, right? The information has been put out there, so we can discuss it when the time's right. Then memo number 4 was talking about the proposed schedule, or the schedule that had been proposed and where we are in those milestones. Obviously, the schedule is going to need to be revisited. Probably not today, but maybe again when we get some information back on these studies, it'd be a good time to talk through what a revised schedule would look like. We checked the box on one is getting the we think we've got everything passed with the new legislation, but that one act also triggers. I think we had a 60-day window from the time that was approved that we begin to put a list together of potential delegates to the delegates for the potential board members. I don't know that we're going to make that 60-day window because I don't think everyone's in agreement on what the representation needs to look like yet and who all is going to be involved. So that's obviously one that'll have to slide a little bit. It's not that we can't start working on it, and I would ask people to start thinking about it. But we'll revisit that in a couple of months probably and set a new timeline.
Is Catherine and Angie going to provide, based off the meetings that they've been having individually with the representatives, they're going to have kind of a recommended structure to how that looks?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of got a recommended structure already that was proposed, but we've gotten feedback that may not be what everybody wants.
Well, and if I kind of go along with what Scott's saying as well, Joel, I remember seeing that, but it's a little foggy in my brain. I'd imagine it would be the same thing with a lot of folks.
Yeah.
That maybe.
So what I think we'll do, and I'll get to this later. I'll go ahead and say, I think we're proposing we probably don't meet again until August, this group, because there's a lot of work needs to be done. And I would think that's some of the things we'll be working on as a consultant group is getting you teeing things up, the next decision points and what that looks like. Because I'm like, we keep, this time passes and we forget. So we can put things together like this specific thing, this is what was proposed, and then we can start making decisions on what that might look like based on where we are, and give you information to help you make decisions on that. So I see us working on those things, trying to fill some of these gaps that we've seen over the last few months with our conversations, getting things together that can help us move the process forward when we have the results from the studies. And so that's what I see our role. So in that memo number 4, again, I don't think we got a lot of comments back, but I think it is obvious that we'll need to revisit the schedule based on where we are. And when we, again, get back together August, September, we'll revise the schedule and move forward with that.
Could we ask you guys as our consultants to give us a revised schedule for us to contemplate at that August meeting?
That'll be part of it. We could start on that now, but I think it's premature until we get some more concrete. A lot hinges on what we find out in this study and where we move forward. Yeah, that's obviously something we'll do. We won't leave it open-ended for you guys. We'll give you something we think makes sense, and you can look at it, study over it, modify it, and see what we can move forward. Okay. I don't know that we have anything slated for the next memo, and that might be our next memo. I don't know that Catherine and Angie may have been cooking something up, and they may have told me, but it may be that that's the next thing when we get together in August. We'll have some proposals on what the next steps are, and that might be our next memo. This is what we found out. This is where we are, and have a new path forward.
Okay. Are there any questions for Joel?
Any questions on that? Concerns? All right, feel free again, if you have any questions that come to you later, let us know. And we'll do our best to answer those, get you the information you need.
All right.
What is that slated, number 4, what is that slated to be emailed out? I know we just sent out 3. Is this-
Four should have already been
It's
out.
already gone out?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I was wondering the same.
And you've got a hard copy of it there in
They
front of
sent
you.
them out back to back.
Yeah, I think it was like a week
I
before.
think, and what may have tripped you, I think Catherine sent 3 out, and I think Angie may have sent
Sent
4 out.
Okay,
Okay, so,
I'll go back and look.
but you've got a hard copy, I think, in front of you there. So,
Yeah, that threw me off too. All right, Joe, is that all you have for us today?
I guess that's it for now.
All right, well, we'll move on to item number 4, introduction of teams and financial studies, process overview and discussion. I will note that I did not see Melissa Levin came in, but I did see Barrett come in, so I'm assuming y'all did a switcheroo on us on that one.
That's right, yes.
All right, and Will Kerr with Raftelis, and then Charles Havlison
That's right, yeah.
with First Tryon. Did not bring David Cheatwood. We didn't want to see Cheatwood anyway.
Exactly.
All right, so if you guys don't mind, before you start, if you'll introduce, we also broadcast live on YouTube all over the world, and so so everybody knows who you are and what you're doing for us. Just real brief introduction, and then we'll let you get right into your presentation.
Sure. Yeah, happy to do that. Actually, we've got a little bit of background material in here because we figured just an introduction and then some background about Raftelis and First Tryon.
Okay.
But happy to do an intro up front. My name's Will Carr. I work for a company called Raftelis. We're based in Charlotte. I'm a senior manager with Raftelis and the project manager for this study. Most of my work is in the Carolinas, but Raftelis has a pretty big footprint. We work all across the country, but our group is kind of the utility rate finance, and our focus is in the Southeast. So Kevin's right. Melissa is not here. She'll be kind of we'll call her the project director for this project. She's a VP with Raftelis and the leader of our Southeast practice. And she will generally be with us. She really wanted to be here, but she was double booked for a conference. So, but you will definitely meet her at the next meeting for sure. Barrett, you want to introduce?
Yeah. I'm Barrett Funderburg. I'm also with Raftelis in our Charlotte office and our Southeast team. Like Will, most of my work is based in the Carolinas, sort of with water and sewer utilities. Then throughout the project, I'll sort of be working with Will and Melissa, sort of backing them up on data and technical analysis and building the financial models that we'll be using to sort of assist us throughout this process.
I'm Charles Havlison, go by Chazo. I'm with First Tryon Advisors. We're based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We are a municipal advisory, financial advisory firm that largely covers North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia from a local government and utility perspective. We do have a more national focus with regards to independent schools and charter schools, but our core services are provided to those local governments. I have not had the pleasure with working with some of you folks, but I know some of my colleagues have throughout the past couple of years. But we do a lot of work with regards to capital planning, so leading you up to funding capital projects, making sure that you're financially healthy and doing so in a prudent manner. And then should you ever need to issue debt to fund capital projects, whether that's through a bank or through a public market issuance with credit ratings, we kind of take you from start to finish to make sure that you're hitting all the appropriate council actions, running through a request for proposals or credit rating agency process, and ultimately delivering to you all services that help ensure that you're getting the best deal for your potential bond issuance. So with regards to OJ RSA here, our role is somewhat in parallel or in tandem with Raftelis. We're going to focus more so on the debt capacity, debt affordability side of things. Eventually, if this reconstitution goes through, you'll have to take out all the debt of all the existing sewer-related debt, I should say, of the members of the authority here, and so we'll work alongside Raftelis to plan for that and then ultimately take you all to market to get that done. I'll just mention anecdotally, we've done this with Metro Connects a couple years ago when they did their kind of consolidation of the various special purpose districts in Greenville County. So have experience working with Reptiles for that similar project and ultimately taking out the debt and putting it now on the then Metro Connects book. So looking forward to working with you all, and thank you all for having us out.
Good. Does anybody have any questions for these guys based off their intros? All right, Will, if not, looks like you're queued up. No, Charles, Chazo.
Will's got it.
I got it.
Okay, I saw it on here. Okay, well, whoever, y'all go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so we've got a fairly brief slide deck today to just walk through, and I'll go ahead and say that really the less talking that I do, the better. We really want to hear from you all, and actually, if you don't mind, we would love to go around the table real quick and just understand who's with who. I recognize a couple of folks, but I don't know everyone, and I don't know which group you all, which community you all represent. So if we could just quickly.
Joe, why don't we start with you?
Sorry. Well, I'm Joel Jones. I'm acting as a consultant to this this committee. As I know some of you guys from my previous role as CEO at REWA, so it's good to see you again with.
Yeah, likewise.
They do great work, by the way.
I'm Celia Myers. I'm the administrator with the city of Walhalla.
I'm Lynn. I'm just the board, OJRSA board
She manages
secretary.
us and takes the best minutes of anybody in the world. I guarantee you. You don't know what went on, you just read Lynn's minutes. Mr. Hart, I'm sorry.
I'm Glenn Hart. I'm representing Oconee County. I'm on the county council, and they appointed me to represent Oconee County.
I'm Chris Eliezer. I'm the director here at the Sewer Authority. Scott Mulder. I'm the city administrator for the city of Seneca, as well as a board member.
And Kevin Bronson with the City of Westminster. And then on our back row, we have interested citizen. You want Tony Adams?
Kevin Gilbert, I'm the editor of the Journal.
Yeah, so whatever you say, he might write in the paper. He might even take a picture and send it to your mama later. He is as good a photographer as he is an editor. So I hope I'm not insulting either one of those. All right, we'll
Perfect.
turn it back over to you.
That's great.
And Will is Lawrence. I'm on the phone, and I'm general counsel at OJRSA and legal consultant for the ad hoc committee.
We didn't look here.
Thanks, Lawrence. I sent you the slides. I hope you got the email.
How much we paid?
Yeah, I got it. We're good.
For a long time, right when he started.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So, yeah, we kind of let off with some introductions, so we'll breeze through that. But what we wanted to do today, we really see this as kind of a kickoff meeting. So what we really want to do is make sure we've got a firm understanding of what you guys expect to get out of this study. So we want to spend some time talking about the way that we understand the project, and we want to make sure that aligns with the way that you guys understand the project. And certainly if there's any differences, let's talk about that. We'll also talk about our process. That will be pretty short. We'll review some milestones and timeline. I think what we've gotten here syncs up well with what Joel provided. I was just looking at the timeline there. We've also got, we've sent around some data requests. We've already started getting some information back. We can give you guys an update on that. And then we've got some Q&A, and we've got some discussion questions if time allows at the end. But again, please stop us, interrupt us, ask us questions. We'll probably do the same of you all. So the more we can kind of collaborate, I think the better. So introductions, we went through that. So we've got kind of the Raftellus team and First Tryon, and we've worked with First Tryon on a number of different things. We both have a couple of slides on just firm background, and we can share this with you guys if you want to review it. But I did think it would be worth touching on, and Chazo talked a little bit about the Metro Connects project, but we did want to kind of lead off with some information about our experience and our work. We've done all sorts of rate and finance work across the Carolinas. But I thought it would be worth flagging a couple of the regionalization type projects we've worked on recently. The Metro Connect study was a big one, and we worked with First Tryon on that. Very recently, we worked with Joint Municipal Water and Sewer Commission in Lexington County, South Carolina. They did a study. There was basically a viability study for the town of Swansea, and Swansea ended up kind of folding into Joint Municipal. And then there's a few others listed on there, a couple of North Carolina ones, Raleigh, KKUA. We also helped with York County in the acquisition of the Lake Wiley River Hills system from Blue Granite. So we've done a lot of work, but I will say with these regional projects, none of them are the same. There's always some level of figuring things out, thinking about the circumstances, the situation. It's always unique. It's always different. There's no one size fits all. So we're looking forward to thinking things through with you guys on this. And then Chazo, we have a couple of First Tryon slides in here. I don't know if you wanted to hit on some information here.
Yeah, touched on it briefly, but just wanted to kind of give you all the lay of the land of where our offices lie on the right there. But as I mentioned, we're a Southeast focused firm, have clients nationwide, a little bit over 500 now. We've got a team of just over 30 individuals. The lion's share are based out of our Charlotte office. Our second main office is in Annapolis, Maryland, and we have a few one-offs scattered throughout the state. But being a financial advisor, we have a fiduciary duty and responsibility to act in the authority's best interest. So we are sitting on your side of the table, providing you independent advice that we feel is in your best interest. We're not a bank, we're not a lender, we're not looking to lend you all money. We're solely sitting on your side of the table, making sure that the decisions that you are making are fully informed and in your best interest. This is probably very hard to read. This is just a cross-section of our various South Carolina experience. I imagine you can't see any of that with the small type, but hopefully it speaks to our level of experience, whether it's cities, counties, special purpose districts, school districts, kind of you name it, we cover that particular sector, but we do have a heavy focus on the local government and utility space. And then lastly, what is our role or our approach as a municipal advisor to someone like the authority? It's really focused on the capital planning side, which is that first set of bullets, and then transaction implementation should you ever need to issue debt to take out existing debt of the underlying members or issue new money debt for your upcoming projects. Will help you through that process. And then kind of just ongoing services in between capital planning efforts or debt issuances. We're always there as a resource for you. We do work with so many throughout the state that we kind of have a finger on the pulse of what's taking place throughout the state, and what are the various happenings that may impact you all. So we're always willing and able to take your phone calls, your emails, answer any questions that you all might have, kind of just in the in-between projects.
All right, so that kind of wraps up the intro and background discussion. Where we wanted to go next was really to start talking about the specific study and to try to get into some of the specifics of what we envision doing with you guys over the next few months. So again, the next couple of slides are what we understand. You guys tell us if we got it right or if we're missing something. So, and of course we've got it pretty high level here. Y'all have been in the weeds with a lot of this work, so you're very familiar with it, and we're just learning about it. So as we understand it, there was the big 2024 regional feasibility planning study. That detailed study, based on my interpretation, kind of laid out the why. Why does this make sense to explore some sort of regional option for OJRSA? I think the existing system is not working as well as maybe originally hoped. So how can we rethink this to better suit the sewer service needs, for the residents and businesses in Oconee County? So kind of born out of that, there was an important question asked which is the how. So that study said the why, and then the next question is, how would something like this work? How would it work financially? Can we demonstrate that it's better for the customers? And it feels like those big questions is what our study is trying to answer, seeking to answer. So it feels like the goal is kind of big picture goals are to determine a path forward for potential consolidation of the local collection systems with OJRSA, and to evaluate whether that makes financial sense for everyone and for the ratepayers and the customers. And when it comes to key outcomes, it feels like there's a couple. Having a financial plan where we're taking a look at our projected expenses for a consolidated system, our projected revenues. How do those two things compare? Are they in lockstep? Especially given that report identified a lot in terms of capital needs for the area. How are we going to deliver those projects? There's also a really important rate component here where we look at kind of a unified structure of rates for a consolidated system. And then the next immediate question is, what is the impact to the customers of the various sewer systems in Oconee County? And then finally, I think that the big goal out there is, okay, is this feasible and does it make sense based on this analysis? So let me stop there. And I know that's pretty broad and high level, but does that feel pretty well in line with what everyone expects to get out of this study?
Good. I think you guys summed it up in 6 points. Way better than these other consultants we've had.
That took 6 months.
No, I know the work that they did help inform that, but I think that's pretty good.
That's all right. Yeah.
He's going on vacation. He can handle it.
That's all right.
Insult
I'm gonna think about you.
Yeah. Chris, you got any input on that either?
No, I don't. It makes sense to me.
Mr. Hart, you all right with that, or any comments?
It's fine with me.
All right.
I'll just make one comment. When we said this time and again, when you look at rate comparison, you can compare consolidated rates based on what you're doing now or consolidated rates on what needs to be done in the future. And that'll have to be a clear distinction that's made, because if you go into this thinking everything's just going to be cheaper, that's not going to work out. So that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Will, I think you have aligned good with the. You haven't been here, obviously hadn't heard a lot of our discussion, but I think that aligns very well. So I think you guys keep moving.
Okay. Perfect. So we'll start off with, we've got kind of a slide of our role and what we expect to do, and then Chazo's got a slide too about kind of the first try on role and what he's expecting to do. So this is maybe one step below, this is the how we get to these goals. So the way that we typically approach these studies is really in two big pieces. The first is developing a financial plan. So what we'll do is we'll work to develop a forecast of our what we call revenue requirements, which is really just a fancy word for our cost. We're going to project, operating expenses, debt, capital projects. Then we will prepare a forecast of, it says billable units of service, but what that really means is accounts and usage. So we want to understand, how much are our customers, how many customers do we have, how much sewer are they using, so that we can charge them and calculate rates for the future. When we pair all that together, what we can do is we can say, all right, how does the balance of this look? Are we recovering enough revenue to do the things that we need to do in the future to deliver all these capital needs, or do we need to adjust continue to make rate adjustments, out into the future. And really, that financial planning element is hugely important for kind of painting a picture of where things need to go.
And in that, because when we worked together, I think you guys did a great job of doing some projections on growth. Without me assuming, is that going to be a part of that in there? Because I think growth is one of those things that we're encountering right now. Well, all the cities are for sure, and I think that's going to be a pressure point on the system or on the plant. It's just a matter of how far out is that, when does that pressure point kind of hit that trigger where Chris has then got to go start designing an upgrade to the plant. So just to make sure I'm not assuming, Will, I wanted to make sure that you guys are going to anticipate or at least evaluate, and Chris has got heat maps and everything else over here that can help inform some of those growth projections.
Yeah.
But if we were 6 years ago, I think it would have been relatively flat.
Sure.
And now it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that growth, if you've got capacity for growth on it in your system, then growth is great. The problem is once you start to get to the end of capacity in your system to serve the growth, now all of a sudden you've got a problem because you've got more demand than you can actually supply. So I think that's a great point. I wonder if something we need to look at, and then you start getting, there's like an engineering question. It's like, okay, at what point do we need to really start kind of planning out an expansion of our facilities, and how much is that going to cost? And that part we can't do, but we can definitely factor that into our revenue forecast, and then within the capital plan we can set up whether it's scenarios like a high growth, a low growth, or somewhere in between. And then it's probably moving capital projects kind of forward and backward a little bit, because you're going to collect a little more revenue as you grow. But the trick is when does the switch flip, when you have to likely borrow for a big expansion type project.
And I think Catherine, Angie, and Joel, a lot of that data was being collected by them. So I think they would actually look at the financial team and say, okay, on this date in the future, this is where they're going to be from an expansion standpoint based on our forecasting. So I think that's a lot of that information probably have to come from them as well.
And there's a lot of moving parts here too. So and I can upload this or send this to you as well. So just at our board meeting last week, we had a presentation from a third-party consultant regarding expansion costs. And they identified it was close to $30 per gallon to expand a facility. And then they figure another 25% or so on top of that for the system expansion to accommodate growth. And it just so happens, I'm sitting here looking at this now, I had received this as a draft document. This treatment costs from another assessor identified that it's gone up, just to treat wastewater has gone up 9% since last year.
Yeah.
And then the last question, when y'all do the financial planning models, how many years will you take it out? Will it be 10, 15, 20? Are you going to go 40? I don't know.
So in Excel, we typically build them way out, just because it's easy to kind of drag it out into the future. I wouldn't recommend making decisions on anything outside of a 3 or a 5 year window, but we can definitely project 10, 20 plus years. I mean, it feels like what's an ideal horizon? I mean, have you guys been mostly thinking about a 10 or a 20 year?
I would think that's going to be driven based on the date that the expansion is anticipated to have to take place. So I think that question is unanswered until, you may say 3 or 5 years, but in 6 years, 7 years, we may have to be looking at a costly expansion of some kind. So I would certainly want to look at least far enough along to make decisions today to meet the need when that expansion comes. don't you think?
Yeah,
That's our biggest expense
I would
coming
think
up.
you wouldn't need to go further than 20 years out, but I agree with Scott. It's
I think it's going to move based on that expansion date.
I can give you I'll have to kind of put this together more formally, but I've been looking at the checkbook, the flow allocation with the treatment plan according to the state, and I can provide you with a timeline that would give us an estimate as to when we would hit that 80% mark, because we're about 1.3 million gallons away from 80% currently. Then I can also look and see on average how much we've permitted per year over the last 2 or 3 years.
That's an inevitable expense, and we certainly want to make decisions today to prepare for that type of expense. We don't need to delay preparations for that. So,
and you might get this also from the consulting team, but I'm very proud of our Oconee Economic Alliance, and Jamie Gilbert, who's our director of that, does the industrial recruitment, and somewhere in there you guys probably need to do some calculations off of that. You know, Jamie could get a manufacturer come in. He's got good stock or good land to put these things on, and we go to $500,000 or a 500,000 gallon customer overnight, or over 18 months, you know, when they plan it to get it built. So I'm expecting we're going to hear some of that stuff. I mean, Jamie has said that publicly to expect some announcements this year, or by summer even, I think.
I got a call with one today.
Yeah. So as you look at it, I think you've got two components. You've got that potential for industrial growth, and the county has spent a lot of money to put that infrastructure in. And then I think the cities are we've got the residential, for us a little bit small commercial, but we had at one point, the OEA was looking at some large water and wastewater consumers that would have got us to that 80% point really quick.
Yeah, right.
So just as y'all work through that, possibly with the consulting team and Chris, factor that in the smart way you know how to factor those things in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great thing to hear. I mean, this is the exact stuff we're hoping to learn as we work through this. I think those types of projects can really move the needle when it comes to building a financial plan. If it's a project you got to take on in the next 5 years, that changes the picture, compared to if you were to take it on in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be great to know if there's sort of, can we put a band around this, like, hey, worst case, we've got to do it soon, and doing it soon would mean that growth is coming. So that could be a good thing. But at the same time, there are definitely some financial impacts for one. Good question. So I think, to kind of wrap up the financial planning piece. I mean, one thing I did want to make sure we had a firm understanding of is really our role here is looking at things on a consolidated basis. I think there's an exercise where we're going to have to, go sewer system by system and try to isolate some of the costs associated with the sewer system. But it's our understanding that this is not, 5 or 6 different rate studies. This is a regional, look. Is that fair? Fair understanding?
Yeah, and I think you had it on your previous slide. What do the current rates look like versus what a consolidated rate would look like, accounting for what Joel said, that we may have amongst us some artificially low rates now because we've deferred and have been deferring some of those maintenance items. But what is that going to look like when that deferral stops? Now I think all of us in the room got a good infusion of cash from the SCIP funds. That did y'all use any on sewer? Did you use it all on water?
That's how we're installing that 1 million gallon elevated water tank.
But you used some of it on sewer, didn't you? And Chris
All
had
of
some
it.
here. So we've had some infusion of capital.
You kind of had to.
Oh, you didn't use it on? I'm sorry. So we've had some infusion of capital that is an anomaly.
Right.
So, but I think it's still important for you guys to capture because I know for us, we attacked the worst of the worst, and so the worst of the worst is now better than it was.
We used ARPA money on sewer.
Yeah.
We did that Seneca Creek line and some others.
Yeah, so I think you're going to see some capital expenditures over the last 24 months, but that all ends June this year. So what would those plans be? And then what is that consolidated cost to the ratepayer? I feel that is my biggest personal concern is how's that going to affect the customers, wherever they may be in Seneca, Walhalla, and Westminster in the end from what they're paying now.
Right. And, I'm sure you have plenty of experience of what you had to do with Metro. I would assume they were all in the same kind of general condition that of what you're facing with us. The thing, too, that we have that's going to be interesting that is, in my mind, I've been giving this a good bit of thought recently as well, is we currently charge a separate volumetric rate based on residential user versus non-residential user. And using this study that was, specific to us for cost, they've identified that, it currently costs us about $6.44 per thousand to treat waste at cost, and our residential rates less than $6 per gallon. So we're losing money on the residential side and making it on the non-residential to kind of balance it out. So that as we approve rate increases, that difference is just gonna spread.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point. And the most common way to charge for sewer service is just a uniform rate. It's the same for residential and commercial. So if you were to go that route, or if you were to even bring up residential more, maybe you didn't want to kind of collapse them together, but you felt residential needed to go up. That's definitely something where we would want to probably look at a phase-in type approach, like we did with you guys, where hey, here's where we are today, and here's where we want to be. We don't need to go there in 1 year. So let's do it.
And that ultimately is going to be a board decision. So it's a board decision to do it the way that we did it, to try to keep it affordable for residential users.
Yep.
Joel, at Rewad, did y'all have a uniform rate for commercial?
We went to a uniform. I think I did it. We used to give a break on the commercial side for consumptive uses, evaporation, and we went to a uniform volume rate.
What about your industrial customers?
It's all
one.
And that's how we're set up. We have two separate systems that we operate technically. One is this wholesale system where we serve the cities, and then is our retail system, which is down along the interstate. And that system has a uniform rate. It just has separate base rates per meter size, whereas the wholesale system has a uniform base rate depending on residential, non-residential. It's $10 per residential and $15 per non-residential, and then the different tiers for volumetric. It doesn't matter what size the meter is.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought when you guys worked with us, you gave us a great step for phase-in approach. I've seen, we've had some here that have phased in that were a bit more aggressive. So I think it was much more palatable when it was less aggressive. How about that? Sure. And going to a uniform rate is probably easier done in the midst of consolidation than trying to do it. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna muck up the whole works, and then what comes out, you just will. I mean, that'd be my opinion. You just will go ahead and make that jump. But that would come up, or depend on what you guys come up with, how big a jump would that be? But it is nice to know, Joel, that that's how y'all did things over there. And that you don't
my
seem to
thoughts,
regret
I mean,
it.
the reason you consolidate is you're basically simplifying services, making more efficient services. So it makes sense as you do that, to simplify as much as you can in that process. Because what you don't want is to be more convoluted on the other side than it is now, and then nobody wins. And so I think now is a good time to figure some of those things out. What we got to figure out, and as part of this, is when that milestone of investment in this treatment plant is going to happen. Everything's going to hinge on that, right? How aggressive you need to be with rates depends on what that's going to cost and how you're going to be able to finance it long term. And that's going to dictate a lot of how long you can phase things in versus you can't. Because you said this is inevitable that you're going to have to, that's better not knowing that you're going to have to do it, but you don't want it because of the fact that it has to, you're behind, right? So you're in a good place right now to set a time that this is when this is going to happen based on what we know, and then set everything around that known, because you don't want it to become an unknown when you're going to have to do it.
Well, another thing too, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is we're under a consent order. So the big driver for decision making with us is with budgeting purposes and having no debt, paying cash for everything, has been focused on getting out from underneath the consent order, not growth focused.
And Chazo, it really feels intimate for me to call you Chazo. In terms of going to bond market for, let's just say this is a special purpose sewer district, like knowing, hopefully Lawrence doesn't wake up screaming because I said it incorrectly. But if the OJRSA is under consent order, does that affect the bond rating and maybe some of the terms of if there's debt that has to be issued? Do you know how that factors in?
It can, but it sounds like y'all are addressing it and working to get out from under it versus it's a brand new thing that you're kind of trying to get your arms around. So it would be a consideration from a rating agency perspective or from a bank perspective, and ultimately the investors that are looking to buy your bonds. But I don't think it would be something that would be prohibitive from y'all entering the capital markets or necessarily a drag on a potential credit rating. I think it would just be a consideration in the fact that y'all are moving to get through that consent order, and get on the other side of it. I think would be a positive spin that we could put forth towards a rating agency or a bank.
My history's been satisfactory compliance with that regulatory agency is always a strong factor. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're in good satisfactory compliance with what they're asking you to do, you've shown progress, you say, okay, well.
And then what I can do afterwards, just since you're here, is I'll show you this table. It won't take but a couple of minutes after the meeting and kind of show you what we have listed on there that is compliance related.
He's lying to you.
There's nothing about that. There's nothing about that table that is a couple
Don't
minutes.
listen to him.
You can't look at it in a couple of minutes.
But I think I've already uploaded this for you to look at anyways. So but that goes over the whole 20 years, I think. So.
You're going to miss lunch. I'm just going to put it that way.
And then my last question for you, Chazo, is with this, we get over the hump of this being a new authority. How would that be received, or any idea how that might be received? Because I believe they're going to have to go out. The new authority is going to have to go out for debt for the plant expansion, because I think I don't know that they're going to have enough money in the bank. Any idea how that affects kind of the terms or how the financial markets would see it, or if you would even dial it back and rather than go out on the open market, go to the state revolving loan fund, because I know you guys have helped do some of those analyses too. Any idea how that newness of it fits in?
Yeah, so I'll speak anecdotally from the Metro situation, but basically they took a two-step consolidation approach where in 1 year they brought under 2 SPDs, and then in the second year they brought in the other 2 to ultimately get to the now larger Metro. And because of that kind of incremental process, we try to keep it as simple as possible from a finance perspective and start by going the bank route, where it's a little bit easier to explain the story. The banks are a little bit more familiar and intimate with the Greenville area, so they knew what was going on. And then Eventually, MetroConnex has now entered the public markets, but they have an established track record, and we're now a regional authority with a much larger customer base to draw from. We have a year or two of financials under our belt as this new larger authority, and so that kind of proven track record, we felt comfortable going out and taking the public market approach. In this situation, it doesn't sound like there's going to be maybe phases of bringing on different members, so that two-step process may not be as applicable here. But I would think the same premise might hold of if and when you need to access the markets, maybe we start with a bank approach to allow us to better tell the story to the potential lenders, and then once there's a year or two of operations as the reconstituted authority, then you could look to go out to the public markets, access longer-term capital, and likely that might sync up with a potential wastewater treatment plant expansion where you have a larger capital ask and you potentially need the long-term 30-year rate, for example. All that being said, we can certainly go and explore the SRF route because that's going to be your lowest cost of money. Not sure where that stands because I know they have limited funds that they're looking to deploy and everyone else is competing for the same dollars. So it's certainly an avenue worth chasing. Not as guaranteed as if you're to go to a bank or the public markets.
Well, thank you for that. Those are just some of the questions, along with seeing that big picture of MetroConnex's new ribbon cutting at their fantastic building. Chris, you're not getting one of those,
You can get a ribbon cut.
Hey, Kevin, just to quickly follow up on that, just for additional kind of color on it. Y'all may remember the SRF has kind of unequivocally told us that they're unwilling to lend money to the current joint authority in its current form and fashion, and that they have actively promoted the proposed consolidation. So I think they would probably lean pretty favorably on potentially lending any money to the organization in the event the Reconstitution were to occur. So they were one of the ones that suggested that path. So I just put that in your kind of in the hopper so everyone can consider it. And then in addition to that, and this is before Chazo's time, but we did do something very similar when we created the Anderson Joint Regional Water System. Now they were buying a singular treatment asset as part of that consolidation, and everything kind of occurred simultaneously, and that was with the original 9 participant members of Anderson Joint when they bought the Duke Water System. So there is precedent for it. The market doesn't see a ton of it, but I think it's going to be largely market dictated, and I think that generally aligns with what Chazo is saying. But we'll look to the options that best suit what your needs are based on what your capital needs are and how we spread it, because we all recognize that the ultimate goal here is to keep rates as tight as we possibly can, measured against the need to make some fairly considerable improvements to the larger utility system.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lawrence. You almost sound like you know bond counsel work.
Well, I do want to caveat that. So we had this conversation. I think it was with Trish Comp back in, I think it was 2020, 2021 time frame. And at that time, one of her big comments that stuck out to me was that she said that they would, part of the reason why they would be unwilling to work with us was because the board has shown no willingness to increase rates. And at that time, there hadn't been a rate increase since 2013. So there have been several since that time. So hopefully we would at least be able to check that box with them.
I would hope too that the state has made it very clear that regionalization is a priority, and I would hope that if you go that route, that they would, put their money where the mouth is, and would step up, whether it's through the SRF or any grant funding. But of course, we can't. We were just telling somebody the other day that banking on grants and banking on good luck is not a good plan.
So I just want to make sure
in that same vein, you saw what Senator Peeler was able to get for Gaffney BPW as a result of some of their consolidations in the northern end of Cherokee County. I think it was $50 million appropriation. So there is also the state appropriation side of this that was in a different budget cycle, but it's certainly something to think about. And knowing that Senator Alexander was integral in getting the legislation passed, it's certainly not lost on me that it would be a good thing to follow up and potentially ask for some state money to help subsidize any of this consolidation as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So we want to check the time. We're getting close to 10 o'clock. So we like to, if we can make sure we wrap up in the next 15 minutes. Because right now this is the Chazo and Will Kerr show.
Yeah.
With a side hustle at Lawrence Flynn. So we want to make sure you guys
and Kevin, for that matter, I do have a 10 o'clock I have to run to, so if I pop off, that is the reason I'm leaving. So.
Okay, all right. Okay. So want to make sure you're getting what you need from us out of this meeting. I know we're all uploading information to you. You've got most of what you need from us. I know I have an email from you. Are you getting what you need from the other folks too? So we can put that out and see if any of us need to do some catch up to make sure you're meeting those goals, so that when we come back in August, wherever you are in this, we're where we would like to be.
Yeah, we've got a slide on the data request, and then we'll go back one to the timeline. So we've got a table here, kind of summarizing the stuff at the top. It was in the Raftellus data request that we provided. If you've got an X by your kind of system and by each item, it means that we have received information. It does not mean that we are done asking questions about it, or that the box is completely checked off. But I think, based on some of the stuff that's already been uploaded, we've already got some good information. We also have access to all of the information that was provided for the 2024 study. So that was helpful, as kind of a starting point for us. And really our data request, a number of the things we've asked for are really kind of updated information since the original data request for the 2024
You just
Mm-hmm.
study.
want a copy of our audit from 2025, and it will give you the information.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll audits, and even we'd like a little more detailed financial information if we can get it. We can follow up directly with kind of the list. But yeah, the audits that's part one, and we may even be able to grab it off your website. I think we pulled some off of websites where we could.
Right. That'll give you all the reserve balances you need as of June 30th, 25 anyway. And then it breaks it down from operating costs. Budget also would kind of break that down compartmentally specific just to sewer.
Okay.
And I work. So, I would just pull the budget and the audit. That should give you the information you need, unless there's something in more detail you need.
Yeah, I would say we are in the gathering mode, not necessarily the analyzing mode quite yet. So let us stick our head in there, and if there is subsequent information that we need, we'll reach out. But you're exactly right. If we can get an audit and a detailed budget and some billing data from everyone, we will really be headed down the right path.
Are you going to grab those two off my website, or do I need to send them to you?
Yeah, we'll get them off the website.
Okay.
We may already have done that, at least for the audit.
Well, then next time, put an X up there.
I gotta say, I'm proud. I've got X's on. I didn't even know
all
that.
the way down. Well, that's why I'm disappointed. I'm going to go back to Josh and be like, why in the heck did I not have all my X's?
This is not a public shaming. This is
When you have a competitive group of people, this is public shaming.
just an update. I promise.
I want to, I'm asking this maybe on behalf of Oconee County possibly, but with them not really having any sewer assets other than the pump station that we contract operate for them now, what is it that you would expect to receive from them?
Yeah, it probably would have been fair to put NA for a bunch of these for Oconee County.
And Chris, wouldn't you have that anyway?
I
You're gonna
think
have
it's
whatever there
provided.
is.
A lot of some of that stuff should be provided with what I submitted to you for the system that we run. for the county, and the operating costs. We do have a line item. Well, we actually have a department within our budget for contract operations.
Okay.
So you should be able to just see that, and we can send you the most recent financial report, the monthly and year to date.
I see the audits and budgets. You've got that checked. So is there more information you're not getting out of those for the operating costs and reserve balances?
We typically, so reserves may be okay. I think the question there is there a specific sewer reserve? Because a lot of times water and sewer utilities are kind of mashed together in the financial statements. So if there's more detail about kind of what balances belong with which utility, we would love to know that.
No.
Yeah.
Ours are all combined. So I can tell you that now.
Okay.
And I need to let you know too that whenever you
put the X up here.
whenever you look at the portion that we have for the retail sewer system, that money that you see in there, the reserve, which is around $100,000, the wholesale system is essentially floating that 100,000 in there just so we can maintain funds within that system to make all of our payments. But that money technically was moved there from the wholesale system back a number of years ago, just so we would be able to pay our bills.
Okay.
So that answers the reserve. On the operating cost, what other information beyond what you would get from our detailed line item budget would you need from an operating cost? Because we do break it out separate for sewer versus water.
Yeah, then you guys are probably not much else.
Okay.
We just like to have as much detail as we can, because typically the audits will roll up some detail, and it's often, if we can just get the detail behind it, we won't have to ask any more questions. But if we get in there and we want to break apart the personnel, utilities, if there's some things that we want to kind of split out, that's why it's good to have.
Yeah, I'll send you. So we do a financial analysis and assessment every year where we break stuff like that out for the mayor and council to get an idea, a better picture of where we are financially and how we operate. So we have a cost to serve analysis that breaks out every department by personnel, operating, capital, breaks out personnel, total costs. So we have a cost to serve analysis we do for each department. So let me get that to you. That more detailed analytical breakdown would probably help you.
That'd be perfect. Yeah.
So I'll just send that over, and that should be all you need.
Yep.
So next time they come, you might have all your X's.
Well, I'm getting ready to go up there and mark on the screen.
Yeah, sure. And Chazo, you guys need a little bit different information than we need.
Yeah, it's somewhat in the same vein. Oftentimes in the audit, if you have a combined utility system, whether it's water, sewer, electric, debt is just reported at the utility level. And so when we think about this potential new authority that is going to service the sewer portion of those current existing utilities, we want to be able to extract just the sewer specific debt that we would ultimately pay off or refinance into an OJRSA specific debt issuance. So if there's an existing combined utility revenue bond that has water and sewer components to it, if we could just carve out what portion is sewer specific, that will allow us to know how much of that bond we need to pay off with an OJRSA issuance. If there's capital leases or finance purchases for vehicles and equipment that are just sewer specific, we want to be able to carve those out, because now, Westminster, for example, is no longer going to have sewer revenue, so you're not going to want to pay for sewer related debt on your books. That would be handled at the authority level. So to the extent we can get as granular as possible to carve out any existing loans that you have on the book into the specific portion of that debt that is serviced by sewer, that's what we'll be looking for, so that when we ultimately flip the switch and the authority becomes this new reconstituted authority, we know how much debt we have to pay off from the underlying members to take those sewer obligations off of your books.
So are we getting that information to you through these upload portals, or you have access?
Yes, I have
know
access
you
to the portal, so you
Okay.
can put it up there. You can email me, either way works.
Have you told us what you just told us there?
They should
How
have
we
been in Angie's request, but if not, I can.
Okay, well, as long as you've told us,
Yeah.
great. If If not, you might need to tell us.
Yes, I can. I'll send out separate emails.
Just so I've got it
I'll
in
say,
front of me. when
here's what
trying
I'm
to do it.
seeing in your most recent audit.
Okay.
You can help me break it down.
Okay.
To be abundantly clear. That's
Yeah, we can.
perfectly fine.
We've got a few more slides, but if we need to wrap this up and move on, I mean, this was one of the important things we wanted to.
Well, the only thing we have left after you is whether or not anybody has any discussion items. So if you're all right, let me ask if we have any discussion items, and we'll let you take it right to the end. Is that all right?
Sure, yeah.
Anything you want to discuss on this side, Mr. Hart, Celia, Joel?
Just make sure everybody's okay if we go ahead and schedule in August, our next meeting in August.
I'm good with that date.
If we need to change it, we'll notify everybody, but I think it's good if we go ahead in the next week or two, set a date. I assume it'll be the second Thursday in August.
August
Right.
13th.
August
Yeah.
13th, so we won't go ahead and say August 13th unless we decide to change that. How about that?
That sounds good. And if anybody's got any issue with that, let's let Joel and Angie and Catherine know. And then let everybody else know we're going to take that break for 2 months. Give everybody time to get some of this work done. All right, Will, let's finish it out. You got 6 minutes.
Well, I've got a slide in here with some key questions and issues, but it's more than a 6-minute slide. So let's stick with the milestones and schedule. So we're working on the data collection and review. More to come on that. We'll probably start reaching out to folks individually about questions, what we have, what we don't have. So stay tuned there. Today is serving as a kickoff meeting, or just a more formal one. We've already been making good headway. During June, we'd really like the opportunity to sit down individually with each of the entities. Either it could be over a Teams call, or maybe it would be in person. I'm not sure, but we'd love the opportunity to just meet with everyone. We can talk about the data. There's probably real specific questions we have for each situation and circumstance. So my hope is to have those meetings in June, and so we'll reach out about scheduling those soon, because I know we'll be working around the vacation and other types of summer things. And then our goal is to have some preliminary findings together by late July, early August. So hopefully for the meeting on the 13th, if that's the date where we land, we can be back here to show you what we've got so far and get your feedback and targeting. So I had in here mid-September, and I think Joel, in your agenda, it said by September. So maybe we need to talk about that. But certainly our hope would be if you guys are going to meet in September, that we're pretty much there.
Okay. Well, we'll kind of play that one by ear. I know this going to be somewhat fluid as we get towards the end, depending on how August goes, right?
That's right.
So we'll, but I think we had a pretty aggressive timeline to begin with, so I think we're doing well and where we are.
Yeah, I think you're technically ahead of schedule anyways, because I think you had 18 months to get this thing knocked out. And that, I think, was assuming you were going to begin in November, so you're even ahead of that, if I'm looking at this correct. So what I'm saying is, don't worry about the schedule.
Thank you, Chris.
You never tell a consultant.
So we'll see you in June 27th. Top results. No, we're going to try to push this through. It seems like there's a lot of momentum, and there's no reason to delay.
Anything else, Will?
No.
Okay.
No. We could keep going, goal stuff.
All right. Chezo, anything from you?
No, I just appreciate y'all's time and send some follow-up emails. Look forward to working with them.
Barrett, you good?
Yeah. I'll probably be the one following up with y'all on data items and everything. So be on the lookout for that. But appreciate y'all's time this morning.
We're going to need to send that cost to serve analysis too, that breaks it down even further.
Either one of us is
You got a card-
fine.
You got a card with your email?
Yeah, I do actually.
You're after that X. That just-
You tell it's bothering Chris.
Thank you very
much.
Revised slide
I'm
deck
sorry,
shows
I didn't
the
mean
X
to
on that.
A little public shaming goes a long way.
Do you want these guys working just directly with the entities? Do you want our group involved? Do you want us to be copied on anything just so we can help facilitate? You don't have to answer that today, but we'll,
Yeah.
you know, if Angie, don't have to be us all of us, but we'll figure
Yeah,
out.
I think just keep them updated and work directly with the entities. It doesn't have to go through us. I'm just like them. I'm a committee member here. But I'm the committee member that you're getting your check from, so.
All right. Well, if is there anything else that we need to discuss? Anybody over here? That's good. Everybody over on this side's good. Mr. Hart? Good to go. All right. Well, with that, unless there is an objection, we will stand adjourned. No objection, we are adjourned. Thank you guys for schlepping down from Charlotte today. That was a ride in. Was it 5?
A little dicey around green.